Hello and welcome to Stuff Every Queer Kid Should Know. I'm Max Emerson, a writer and performer leveraging social media to create independent narratives. Similar to my other endeavors, this podcast is designed to provide vital resources, role models, and tools that enhance your well-being, foster connections, and support personal growth from late adolescence onwards. Today's podcast is a very special one. Certain episodes are designed to be part of an essential toolkit, an expert-driven series of guides for the fledgling baby gay. Our guests are the founders of ClearStem, a skincare company with incredibly high standards, and one of the founding sponsors of this humble podcast, Danielle and Kaylee. In 2017, Danielle Gronich and Kaylee Christina co-founded ClearStem Skincare, a brand offering skincare and hair care products free from pore-clogging ingredients, specifically designed for acne-prone and sensitive skin. Danielle, a licensed clinical esthetician and the founder of San Diego Acne Clinic, has over a decade of experience treating cystic acne. Kaylee, an integrative health practitioner and nutritionist, experienced lasting results through Danielle's holistic approach to skincare. Passionate about holistic health, Danielle and Kaylee discovered that many mainstream skincare products contain harmful ingredients that exacerbate skin issues. This realization led to the creation of ClearStem, the first brand to address both acne and aging concerns without using irritating or harmful ingredients. It's also important to note for FTC transparency that ClearStem is a dedicated supporter of this podcast and a founding financial sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. What an intro. I love that.
I'm still going.
Oh, we're not done. Oh, we're not done. I got excited. I got excited too soon.
I'm happy to be here too. I've been using ClearStem since we began filming this podcast, and, well, you can see the results for yourself if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify. Kaylee and Christina, thank you so much for being here today.
And now we're done with the intro.
Now we're done with the introduction.
No, that was amazing. That was one of the best intros ever.
The term baby gay is adorable, and I hope to be one someday.
Oh, there's still hope. There's still time.
There's still time.
I have prepared a rapid-fire series of questions for this audience to get to know you in a series called Who the Hell Are You? Are you ready?
We're ready.
Ready as we're gonna be.
Name.
Danielle.
Kaylee.
Zodiac sign.
Virgo.
Taurus.
What are you an expert in?
Acne.
Nutrition.
How do you identify on the gender and sexuality spectrum today?
Technically straight, but very curious. I've made out with a bunch of friends. I think about women when I masturbate.
Right.
How does that answer your question?
Beautifully.
I love that so much. I identify with straight.
Okay.
That was so boring compared to that.
That was boring.
There's other questions. We can redeem ourselves. What is your most favorite animal?
I like dogs.
Cats.
Least favorite animal?
Lizards.
Possums.
Lots of lizards. I get a lot of lizards.
I love lizards.
They don't have souls.
What is the last thing you ate?
Sausage.
A rar bar.
How many caffeinated drinks do you drink per day?
2.
1 to 2.
Okay. Caffeinated beverage of choice?
Like a really good English breakfast tea.
Coffee.
All right. Biggest pet peeve?
Not taking shoes off when you walk in a house.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would say having dirty feet and not taking shoes off is one of the core reasons for that.
Hand in hand. Your dream vacation destination?
Switzerland.
Paris.
Favorite sport or game?
To play or to watch?
Anything.
Play, padel, watch basketball.
Sport, to do skiing, to watch. I don't really watch sports. I don't know. I like a really good, Super Bowl.
Sounds like skiing is the answer there. What is your favorite thing about queer bars?
The music and the dancing.
Oh, the dancing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a virtual hellscape and 10 being a utopia, how are things looking for queer people today, or at least the queer people in your lives?
Depends on the city, but I'd say overall, looking forward, I'd call it a 7.
Yeah, I'd say I grew up in Pittsburgh, but being in California, I feel like it definitely skews closer to utopia, skewing that way over here. But I can't say the same for the rest of the United States sometimes.
What's your number?
6.
Okay. What was the last thing that you misplaced?
My chapstick.
Oh, I always am losing lips and cutes Our Lips and Cutes lip balm. I have to have like 10 everywhere at all times.
Where was it?
It was in my hotel as I was checking out, but it was next to me in bed. I always have it next to me, but it got all like ruffled up in the actual comforter. So I ran back in the room when housekeeping was in there. And I was like, hold on. And I found it and I was so happy. And then I came here.
Mine was in our junk drawer in our kitchen.
Okay. So someone probably moved it there. Mm-hmm. What was the last thing you were super mad about?
My fiance said we had to take down the Christmas tree 3 days before Christmas because he had a photo shoot planned and I made him cancel it because I wasn't taking down any of my Christmas decorations. We got in a big fight about it and I was like, absolutely not. You have to cancel it.
Okay.
I'm not taking down the Christmas tree to put it back up.
That's valid.
Yeah.
It's your home.
It's my home. I love my Christmas decorations. They're not moving.
Love it. Last thing I was mad about. I don't like when people criticize based on their preferences and they state them as facts. I don't like that.
Ooh. What was the last thing that made you cry?
I was watching a World War II movie on an airplane.
Airplane movie?
Yeah, World War II movies, they always make me cry.
It's something about airplanes in particular always seem to trigger it though. Have you heard of that? It's a phenomenon.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
it's
just
like
thought
the
I
thin
had
air or
developed a
something.
nice cathartic process of always watching World War II movies while sipping champagne and crying on airplanes because it feels so good after you're done. But maybe the airplane was the part of it that I wasn't appreciating.
Fair enough.
The thought of having to take down my Christmas tree 3 days before Christmas and then put it back up, I did cry
Hey,
Aw.
and then got mad.
whatever tactic gets you to keep your tree up.
Exactly. It worked.
What is the location of the worst date you've ever had?
Napa.
Wine snob?
How to have a bad, okay, it must have been a terrible date if you were in a beautiful place like Napa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we need to dial in on that later. Worst location of a bad date. I don't know. I'd have to say a taco shop, but in fairness, I chose to go there because I knew the date wasn't going anywhere, but I wanted a burrito.
That's fair.
a
A
win.
quick out.
Yeah.
It's like coffee. It's like less committal.
Yeah, I was like, I will leave with something good out of
And
this
that
hour.
would be the burrito.
All right. Last question. What is your most prized possession?
My cats.
I really don't know. I'd have to say it's a pair of earrings that my first love gave to me that somehow I've managed to not lose in 10 years, even though I've like lost them, but then refound them several times, but I lose everything else.
Do people you date ever get like jealous of the earrings?
No, I don't tell them where they're from.
Oh, I
You
love that.
can't. You can't. Yeah.
That's my business.
Yeah.
All right.
Jewelry, I'm like, you gotta have that forever. That's all. I don't even know where it came from.
So we're here to talk about skincare, particularly in adolescence, specifically about acne. So let's talk about the perspective from kids. It's a lot different, the ecosystem that I think we grew up in. What do you think young kids today understand about skincare compared to what we knew growing up?
I think it's too much information now. It's almost like we had too little when we were younger. There was no direction. The only direction was drugstore brands and going to a dermatologist. And there was only like two choices. It was like a really harsh topical cream or a oral medication. But now kids are inundated with so much information. I can't imagine as you're trying to learn yourself, discover yourself, not knowing who you are yet, also dealing with skin issues and being inundated with information. I can't imagine the amount of stress their brains are under at all times.
Okay.
Yeah, I think young kids are, I'm referring to like the average, like call it like 18-year-old who's on TikTok, right? Like they're learning a lot more than we learned at that age, but is it the right information? And is it the right information for them? That is up in the air. And it's I would say usually a no, it's not the right information for them. But what I am happy about now is that the correlation between diet and acne is far more understood. And we take a lot of credit for that because we have been blasting everywhere that acne is both internal and external for the last 10 years. But before that, you basically go to your traditional conventional dermatologist or doctor for your acne, and all they do is write prescriptions. They don't even mention diet because it's just not part of that conversation.
Yeah. I feel like the popular understanding now is if your doctor is trying to prescribe you a drug without asking about your sleep, your diet, your exercise.
You have a drug dealer.
Yeah. Bless that. I think when I was a kid, the resources we had was that one commercial that was on
The Proactive commercials with all the
Every
celebrity
4
Britney
minutes.
Spears.
Remember the P.
And
Diddy
they would
one?
like
Yeah.
wash their faces in the most messy way possible. I got to do a skincare job like that at one point,
No
like
way.
10
Were
years
you
ago.
just splashing water everywhere?
Everywhere. It was
like,
so
the
fun.
Neutrogena commercials, like, how do they splash that water? You know.
It's slow motion, and yeah, you just
So you just as
like,
much water as possible all over your face.
Yeah, it was really. That's exactly what it
Brittany,
is.
we need to film something fun like that. We need to remake the old school Neutrogena commercials for Clearstem, just like as a parody. I feel like that'd be so funny.
Like the commercial versus reality, or like
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
like they wash their face and then the next person goes to use the bathroom. Like, what the hell?
It's like so
Haley,
the
come on.
whole, like the whole bathroom is like a whole inch layer of water everywhere.
Did you grow up with siblings? We were always fighting about who was making the most mess
Oh, yeah,
in
all
the
the time.
bathroom and using each other's stuff. If we ever washed our faces like that, I would have been physically assaulted for sure.
Yeah. And I have a younger brother and sister. So brother, toilet seats open all the time. Sister left every cabinet open. Like, it's so messy. We all shared a bathroom at one point.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I know.
I actually argue very, very vehemently that women are grosser than men when it comes to like sharing bathrooms and things.
I kind of agree.
That's
I
like my
agree with
most
that.
sexist opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
We have
okay,
more
so guys
products.
can be a little more like, quote, like dirty, like they can have stinky towels and like not wash stuff and there's like pee on the floor. But a girl will have 1,000 products. There's makeup residue everywhere. There's like mascara on the wall. Yeah.
Hair.
It's just a different,
every
different
surface.
category
Yeah.
of
hair
filth.
on every possible
Yeah,
surface.
hair every. Oh God, yeah, like on the walls.
Yes, like on the bathroom walls.
Yeah,
oh my
in the
god.
shower.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
When you do
I'm
like
gonna
a
throw up.
renovation of your bathroom, do you pick tiles that kind of like match? Kind of like how I'll pick furniture that matches the dog shedding.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. That way when he shed, look at that. It blends right in. You can't see anything.
So back to the topic at hand. How can we better educate young people about acne and skin health from an early age?
I think it's empowering the parents to have an understanding to then open up the conversation with kids. I think at such a young age, back to what I said earlier, kids are so inundated with information that I think when parents can learn that acne is internal and external, parents are the ones that are buying the groceries for the house, typically making their kids lunches, making their kids dinners. They can have these beautiful conversations with their kids about how they can help with their skin. And I think when young kids feel really empowered with information, it's going to lead to them not testing as many things, because once they understand how their acne works, because kids naturally are so curious. So they're going to ask why, they're going to be curious. So when parents can give supportive answers and understanding, I think it empowers the kid at a young age to think differently, but also think for themselves and start to make more decisions that are supportive for their acne at a younger age.
So it begins at home.
Yeah, begins at home.
Yeah. What was the question again from the top?
What can we do to better educate kids?
God, yes. The entire family has to be involved. So at my clinic, I own San Diego Acne Clinic, and we have a very different protocol when teenagers come in. And it starts with the parents. It's like, okay, are you committed to buying different food? Like, do not have dairy in the house. Get rid of the whey protein.
Really?
Go to the store and find a bunch of non-dairy cheeses, make it a game, see which one's fun. If the parent can't get on board with that, there is zero chance of
So
success.
that's like the first thing to cut out from a diet perspective
Yes,
is
and we
to,
can
to
totally-
try cutting out dairy first.
Love going more into that for sure. But the standard teenage diet is absolutely horrific. It's all sugar and dairy and processed food. So there's nothing that you can't, kind of like you can't out train your diet if you're trying to lose weight, like you can't out skincare your diet either. So getting that understanding for the people that are actually buying the food and stocking the shelves is really important. And if the parent can't get there, we won't work with them at that time. So, but about skincare specifically, that pore clogging ingredients are where it's at, because we're getting bombarded with so much information and so many options, and they all sound good. Like we all love to buy, right? And marketing all sounds good. But if you weed everything else out, if it has pore clogging ingredients, you're going to be so much better off. So
Isn't that all makeup?
pretty much. There's
that's
a lot
just
of
mud on your face, right?
There's a lot of brands out there that are doing really well in the makeup space, and we'll share our favorite acne safe ones too. But basically, if you understand pore clogging ingredients are wrecking your skin and causing your acne, and you remove all of them, we have a checker that people can use to just easily check. Once you do that, you weed out like 98% of all the garbage out there, and the 2% left is the stuff you get to play with, and your skin will be happier.
Something I just thought of too, skincare and makeup for really young kids that like playing with skincare and makeup can kind of be like a drug. So if the parents won't let their son or daughter go get makeup and skincare to play with, they're going to go to the mall with their friends, they're getting it, and then they're going to buy it, and then they're going to hide it in their closet, and then they're going to put their makeup on like once they get to school.
I guess that's better than finding meth in their drawer.
Yes, I would say that. So if like the parent can be a little more educated about makeup and skincare and just give, again, more education, like, oh, the products with pore clogging ingredients are going to make your acne worse. So here are some products that you can go shop, you can go to Sephora, you can go wherever you want and buy these products and play with them that are going to be safer for your skin. Because we also have—
As opposed to like back alley makeup.
Exactly. Like
some guy with a trench coat.
Buying it with cash only, no credit cards. But especially with young kids using retinols on their faces and going to Sephora and buying these really aggressive retinoids for their skin that are so disruptive to the skin barrier at a young age. There's other healthy skincare that the kids can play with that are less destructive to their skin at a young age. So I think the parents helping to educate and give at least a scope at which they can play around with skincare and makeup with the education is really helpful because they're going to play with it no matter what. Yeah. They're just going to do it behind the parents' back, or the parents can let them.
That's interesting. As someone who doesn't have kids yet, this is a terrible comparison, but it's like with a dog. You can't just send your dog to training school. You actually have to train the handler. You're the handler. Like you need to be trained too. Like it's
you have
all
to
very
upkeep it at home once they get back from the trainer.
That's such a good analogy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I thought it might be insulting to compare children to dogs, but I guess we're millennials and that's just the standard now.
Exactly.
A compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk more about young people using anti-aging stuff, but we'll come back to that in a bit. Let's talk about acne myths and social media and how kind of there's like a new one-size-fits-all policy for acne or whatever on TikTok. It just like things go viral and that's the trend this week. Can you debunk some of the stuff that's out there right now and share sort of what actually works?
So a lot of the myths, the biggest myth, and that is still getting propagated even by health professionals that should know better, is that your diet doesn't matter for acne. There are some really disgusting TikTok videos that have gone viral about like a girl being like, my derm told me I can eat whatever I want and just go on Accutane, and then she's going through a drive-through and getting like a quesadilla and like, just like there's like that video like went viral and then it shows her doctor just kind of laughing in the background as he's writing a prescription. And it's just like, it literally made my blood boil. But the biggest myth that is being propagated by uneducated healthcare professionals, even the ones we're supposed to trust, is that your diet doesn't matter. And that's because the average medical program to become a physician, the average one only has about 11 to 20 hours of nutritional training. Wow. In the entire program. And it's not about anti-inflammatory foods. It's not about how to eat healthy. It's like contraindications for the prescriptions they will be writing.
Right.
Like you can't have grapefruit if you're on statins, like that kind of thing. It's not about how to eat well. So it's not part of the conversation with acne. So people get told that when they're young and they're like, I just have to do antibiotics and birth control and spironolactone and Accutane and what I eat doesn't matter. But that is so far from the truth.
You just need a lot of really impactful things that someone has to take.
Some people
everyone's on that.
Those.
Everyone's like on all four of those.
Yeah.
I did that for a decade of my life. Did Accutane 3 separate times, was on spironolactone 4 different times. That's just what I can recall.
I remember hearing the side effects for those were insane, like psychotic behavior, right? Is that?
I mean, that's a rare one. It can happen,
rare?
Though.
Okay.
It's depression's more common.
So my friends were already maybe a little psychotic in the first place.
It'll bring it out of you.
Okay.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of side effects. Young girls, like, your 11-year-old is getting put on birth control. The F is that?
Yeah.
And it's disrupting so many things downstream that parents aren't educated on. And then when that doesn't work, then there's antibiotics disrupting your microbiome because that's still caused from pore clogging ingredients and other stuff that's not being addressed. You have to do more antibiotics and stronger ones for longer. When that doesn't work, you go on spironolactone. When that fails, you're on Accutane. That's the playbook that most people are told they have to go on. Meanwhile, the dietary conversation is completely absent.
So other than the medical complex as a whole, what are some scams people can look out for? Like what are some red flags when they're looking for products to help with acne?
Any brand that says this is the one thing that your skin's missing, like, there was the one where it was like a probiotic skincare, which is such bullshit for a couple of reasons. One, you have to have preservatives in there that kill bacteria. So having a probiotic skincare is just nonsense for the most part. And then that it's rarely just one thing. Like your skin is a myriad of factors, both internal and external, and brands will try to sell you on one thing and try to make it sound easy to cure a very complex condition like acne, and it's false, and it leads people down it just leads them down a false path, and it takes advantage of them and takes their money and causes more psychological harm. So that's what we hate.
What I think is so interesting is in our generation, we had commercials, and the one that everyone knew for acne was the Proactive commercials. And those were 5 to 10 minute long, even more infomercial style.
Depending on what time of night you're watching.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe at the shortest, it's 2 minutes, right? Because commercials were so much longer. So they had time to educate, and they wanted to educate and share stories of people who had been on it and gotten clear back in the day. And now we have like 5 seconds to get people's attention. And so it really pushes brands to make these clickbaity claims that then the consumer believes as truth. And it's claims based on skincare that sometimes isn't even formulated properly. Back to what Danielle said about the probiotic skincare, we've seen a lot of skincare where they might have one leading active ingredient that could be good for acne or aging. And it has one leading active ingredient, and they'll make all their claims based on that one ingredient. That is a very small percentage of the formula. And then the filler agents to make up the rest of the formula will have pore clogging ingredients in them. Okay. So it'll be an acne product with maybe, let's just say their leading ingredient is salicylic acid, which is well known for acne. You'll find it in spot treatments a lot. You'll find it. So maybe they'll put salicylic acid as the leading ingredient, say it's for acne, make claims around it, how it clears people's skin, but the rest of the formula has pore clogging ingredients that are just re-clogging people's pores.
So now you're just dry and clogged.
Exactly.
Let's talk about what causes acne in the first place. What is acne?
So acne is just an inflammatory condition of the pore. Basically, I want to use the term pore and hair follicle interchangeably because they are, and I think that helps people understand it better. So we have, all of our little facial fuzz and our pore on our face. And the root cause of acne is something called retention hyperkeratosis. Basically, it means we make more keratin protein than the person who just never breaks out. So that's not inherently a terrible thing, but it does make our pores get clogged more easily. And then if you combine that with excess oil, which we generally can have, and products that have pore clogging ingredients, everyone's using at least one product, right?
So it's the oil getting stuck in the pore, not being able to be released.
From the product, yes. So something that is pore clogging, basically just think of it as it's too thick it's thicker than our natural oil. It's too thick for our skin to naturally sweat out. Okay. So that's how you can think of it. And they can be clean and organic and all the stuff, but basically if it's something that's too thick for our skin to sweat out, it can clog our pore. It mixes with the dead skin, the extra skin in our pore, our natural oil, and it forms a little plug, and then our skin just keeps growing on top of it, and that creates the acne. So whenever I do extractions at the clinic, there's always like a little pearl inside.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can see it.
Satisfying.
It's very satisfying. But if it's from product, it'll be like an orange ball of wax. And it'll be really hard. Like I'll squeeze it really hard and it won't even budge. So pore clogging ingredients go into our pore, they harden, and they turn into this little ball of wax that our skin just grows on top of. And that's where we get like cystic acne and closed comedones. And it's just this whole cycle.
I've always been very lucky to not have terrible, terrible acne. It would usually happen like as my beard is starting to grow, like I'm starting to get hair in new places. I'll find that like I'll get some acne there first. And then like that's hairy now. Like I guess that's kind of a natural thing. And then for me now as an adult, I'll get 1 or 2 zits, and it's sort of my body's way of warning me that I'm too stressed out. I'm either not eating well. It's usually when traveling. So my sleep schedule's off. I'm eating garbage at restaurants all the time, and like, boom, you better chill. You're going to get sick.
That's the benefit of having acne.
Like my
your skin
red
is talking to
you.
Yeah, that's a positive way of looking at it. And for everything else, there's Facetune. What do you see as the future of, we'll call it clean skincare, particularly in terms of ingredient transparency? Because a lot of the stuff doesn't list all of the filler things. Like, can you read the ingredients and look out for certain things? Are there apps that help you identify this stuff? Like, how would a consumer be able to identify pore clogging ingredients or other harmful additives?
Yeah, so companies do list it out. Sometimes they lie, but most of them are honest, right? They do list the ingredients out. It's that the average consumer doesn't know what they're looking for. They look for the marketing ingredients like salicylic acid and green tea. they don't know that that's 2% of the formula. The other, call it 95% of any formula, is the filler, and that's what's clogging people up. So
Or
it'll
stabilizers, right?
Stabilizers. Stabilizers are more in the preservative family, but the filler agent, what makes up the bulk of the product, is things like ethylhexyl palmitate or Cetireth 20, isopropyl myristate, other things like that the average person has no understanding of, and that
And
honestly,
it sounds like the benign preservatives.
well, it just sounds, well, you just don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something that's there and you don't know what it is. You don't know that that's the thing that's ruining your skin, right? So what we built is a pore clogging ingredients checker. We were like the first one to build a dynamic checker where you can copy and paste the ingredient deck to anything and it'll tell you in red if there's a pore clogger. So that's where everyone should start. Like, do a haul of your room and your bathroom, get everything together, check all the ingredients and find out which ones have pore cloggers. Get rid of those and your skin will be so much better.
Awesome. I know there's apps that do that too. They'll tell you like what the toxic stuff in certain foods are. I forgot the name of them.
Yucca.
Yucca.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That's supposed to be a really good one.
Yeah, those apps are great. They're extremely helpful. Context is everything, and that is lacking a lot of the time. So I do want to we want to let people know that use case and percentage of the formula matters. And that is what's not listed on the back of something. So you might see an ingredient, you'd be like, oh, I heard that's linked to toxicity or whatever, because fucking everything is. But you might think like, oh, this ingredient's bad, but you might not know that it's like a 0.01% of something and that it's a necessary preservative so that yeast doesn't grow in your product.
Right.
And that overall the product
So
is
you don't
actually
open a
fantastic.
can full of mold.
Right. Yeah. So what's lacking in those apps is context about the percentage and the sourcing and whether or not the formula as it is as a whole is balanced and right for the person.
Right. Yeah. The spin with social media is just so real. It's like those ads of like, this food contains the same chemical ingredient as a yoga mat. It's like, so does bread.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm very fortunate in that Wellness Loud, the production company that does this podcast, also does tons and tons and tons of wellness podcasts and works with brands like yours and has been my go-to for screening products to make sure that like I just trust them because they already have the team that's taking care of all of this and making sure it's at least of this standard. But I would like to give you an opportunity to convince me in 10 seconds why your brand isn't just selling me snake oil. Go. You can take more than 10 seconds.
Okay, I was like 10 seconds.
Do we each get 10 seconds? Yeah,
My
go.
cortisol. Okay, so we are not selling snake oil because our first product is education. It is free. We make no money on it. We invest a ton in educating our customers, both online and virtual free masterclasses and in person at wellness events and masterclasses. We love doing Q&A for people to really answer their in-depth questions so they can understand things first. And then they will naturally ask about our products and we'll match them with what's right for them. We never oversell. And we always tell people to first check their existing products for pore cloggers. Find out what's causing the problem. It's probably the moisturizer. Get rid of that and then switch to our moisturizer. Just do that as a starting step and then you see where you go.
I will add in that we have an entire telehealth wing of our company. So we actually do blood work for acne. Again, our mission is to help relieve the suffering in people who are struggling with acne. And through that, we just want people to get to their root cause. So much of us educating about supplements that trigger acne, diet that triggers acne, we make absolutely no money on. And the blood work that we run, it's over 86 markers. And a lot of people who've gone through it are people who've been struggling with acne for decades. And they're finally able to uncover their root cause. And a lot of times it's mold, it's underlying infection. And the protocols that we recommend, we also don't make money on. So we recommend protocols and supplements and routines from other companies that we have no affiliation with other than we are just major supporters of our brand and we love their formulations, but we make no money on the protocols from our blood work that we're recommending to people.
Okay. So we're really tailoring it to the individual is kind of what makes the difference here.
Yep. We're here for the bigger mission of acne and changing the conversation around acne. And that's our biggest passion in life. And the products are honestly just like the fruit of our labor from all of that.
I think that follows with a lot of endeavors professionally in people's careers. Like that's been my experience as well. As anytime I'm like, the goal is to make money or to get the following number up or the engagement up, I'm never making something that I'm super proud of. And it's always like, if I just do something that I'm passionate about, that I care about, that I feel is giving back, all of those other things will just fall in line. It may not be as high engagement as dancing around in a Speedo, but you know,
But it's the right type of engagement.
it's enough. Okay, so let's go into the toolkit. Voting with your dollar. How can people effectively vote with their dollar when it comes to supporting clean and ethical skincare?
Oh, I love this. I think people really paying attention to the missions of the brands that they're supporting.
Mhm.
And again, waking up to the fact that acne is internally and externally. And I think the more that people, when they go to their doctors, they can ask questions, they can push, and they can push their doctors to think differently. And if it's their choice, say no to prescriptions and really look for those brands that are helping people get to the root cause of certain chronic illnesses that are going on. I think we can finally start shifting the bigger narratives that prescriptions don't solve everything, and we're in charge of our bodies. And the more in tune we can get with our bodies and make decisions for ourselves and make the connection of internal and external, again, we can shift the bigger narrative around health in general.
What are some of the things about the prescription treatments like Accutane, spironolactone? Am I saying that right?
Got that.
Spironolactone and birth control for acne. What are some of the things that people maybe don't consider when they just jump on a prescription?
They don't consider that their acne. Okay, we'll start with spironolactone. It's basically an androgen blocker, so it helps to block the quote male hormones. Male hormones, testosterone specifically, when that surges or is high, that's what creates the most hormonal acne. It's an oversimplified way of saying it, but that is essentially the truth, right? So when we have testosterone surges or spikes, we can get hormonal acne. And that's when girls get put on spironolactone, is to block their testosterone and
Girls
androgens.
only.
Pretty much. I don't see a lot of guys get put on it, but
Guys are mainly put on Accutane.
yeah,
more than
they
Spiro.
go
Yeah.
straight to
Right.
Accutane. Yeah. So basically, that's what happens, but they aren't aware that their vitamins that they're taking are causing their hormonal acne. There are a lot of vitamins and supplements that, when taken in excess, can spike testosterone, and it's not well known. Things like B12. Too much B12 can spike testosterone, and it can also increase a certain type of bacteria, and that's why it shows up in the hormonal area. So like along the jawline, around the neck, like where we would have a beard essentially, where the deeper hair follicles are. Too much B12 can spike acne there, and it is hormonal acne. It's just being caused by your vitamin. You stop that, and then 3 weeks later, your acne could be gone. But that conversation isn't happening because I don't believe derms are trained on that.
So that's almost like I was saying earlier, where the acne is like a warning sign of your body communicating to you
yeah.
that something's out of whack.
Yeah, but it could just be a vitamin thing. I mean, nothing even necessarily needs to be wrong. It could just be that you started getting B12 injections. Stop doing that. Your acne
Right,
could
your
go
body
away.
is processing a bunch of stuff it doesn't need to do, and it's working too hard as a result.
And it's too high of a dose. Dosage is everything. So with B12, you need it in your diet, right? You don't want to be deficient in anything, but you get it through meat sources. If you're a vegan vegetarian, you might need to supplement with it, but dosage is everything. We've seen levels as high as 275,000% RDV. That is obscene. So that's when we can spike our hormone, our testosterone specifically, without realizing it. Other vitamins that generally get recommended for acne in excess can also spike testosterone, like zinc. We don't want to be deficient in zinc at all because that can throw our hormones off. But when we start taking a super strong zinc supplement, it can actually spike testosterone and create hormonal acne around the mouth. I see that all the time in my clinic. So getting the
Wow,
right...
so you can just like really read someone
yeah.
based on the placement of...
I can tell when it's eggs. I can tell when it's too much vitamin D.
It's almost like the intersection of like Eastern Chinese medicine and actual like more scientific approaches where they kind of meet in the middle again, where you're like, oh, I can read your face.
You hit the nail on the head. We are big fans of TCM, and we incorporated a lot of that into our company from the very start.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're always talking about lymphatic health and digestion and all that stuff too. So the other thing that can spike testosterone and cause hormonal acne is too much vitamin D, especially when it's not paired with its cofactors like K2. And it can cause cystic acne right where you'd have a goatee around the mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. So the right amount is key. Not deficient, not too much.
So if I was a 16-year-old struggling with cystic acne right now, what's my first step?
First step is to overhaul the fridge. What are we eating? Protein as the main. Protein and cooked vegetables is the ideal the ideal meal for just about everyone, even for breakfast. That's a hard sell for a lot of people. In America, we're trained that we basically should have candy for breakfast. So overhauling your diet, starting with your breakfast, clean protein, hopefully some sort of vegetable or fruit, whatever, some, vitamins, nutrients, vitamin C that's going to help set your immune system right for the day. But avoiding over avoiding overprocessed things, and then watching your sugar intake. Sugar spikes cause inflammation for
Any
everyone.
sugar, or specifically processed sugar in high quantities?
Specifically processed sugar at high quantities.
the
When you
fiber.
eat it is everything. You can have a fruit smoothie that has organic, wonderful fruit and a lot of vitamins. But if you're not chewing it and breaking it down with your amylase in your mouth, that your body can register that as candy.
Okay.
Yeah. So having adding a few scoops of protein in it first, or having protein before you have your smoothie, it has a totally different effect on your body.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So minding our sugar, leaning more towards protein, removing conventional dairy for a while, and then removing eggs for a while.
So kind of removing it, see where you are, and then slowly adding things back, kind of that Whole30 approach that was a fad a few years ago.
Yeah, and see how your body reacts to it.
Okay, so start with diet. And then as far as just educating yourself further on things like acne, where should they go?
To the ClearStem website.
All right, fair enough. What is the tie of gut health, and I'm going to say sugar too, with skin?
Well, there is the gut, brain, skin axis. So all three of them are connected. And I'm really happy that in the last few years, there's been so much education around the importance of gut health as it relates to both the skin and the brain. So we can have bacteria overgrowth in our gut, like Candida or SIBO, which is happening in the intestines, but intestines, gut, digest, like it's all so interconnected. So it's never just gut health. It's also digestive health, intestinal health, all of that just working together. But when there's overgrowth of bacteria in the gut, that absolutely can be triggering acne. And so
Overgrowth of the wrong types of bacteria.
yeah, the wrong types of bacteria, because we need healthy, right? We need both types of bacteria in our gut. So when there is an unhealthy amount of the bad bacteria bugs in our gut, it can throw off not only our mood, how we feel, how we sleep, how we focus, but also our skin. And with acne that is really happening in the gut, from the dysbiosis in the gut, it will look more infected. It'll look angry and inflamed. It'll look pustule. It'll be sometimes the cystic acne that you're never able to pop or break open at all. But a lot of times you can look at acne and see when it's internal. It's just a lot more aggressive. And so we discover a lot of this through our acne lab panel. We're also launching the GI gut test along with our blood work panel, because there are people that we get 90% clear, but there's still something funky going on in the gut and we need a deeper look to it. A lot of times when it comes to gut, it is removing processed sugars, it is removing dairy, it is focusing on the vegetables, cleaner proteins, a very simpler diet, but sometimes there's a little more intensive herbs that need to be included, especially if you're trying to cause a die-off with the bad bacteria in your gut. So there's a lot of daily habits you can do to just manage stress and cleaner eating, but sometimes a deeper protocol is needed depending on how long there's been a dysbiosis and imbalance in the gut.
Interesting. It's almost like the skin's the canary in the coal mine, and there's something really wrong with you.
Yes.
And your skin's just like the last thing to be like, hey, let's address that.
Yep.
And it's really interesting. We're all just so vain that that's what gets us to go and do something about it, as opposed to just like feeling like shit all the time or not thinking well
Exactly.
or being emotionally imbalanced or something else. What would you say are the most important to least important things here? And I know they're all tied together, but where do you rank these? Balancing sun exposure, diet, sleep, exercise, and fancy goops.
Fancy what?
Fancy goops.
Fancy goops.
Moisturizers, treatments, creams, medication. Like, where's you? It sounds like nutrition is first and foremost. with
Yeah,
you.
your diet first.
Yeah, diet first.
Am I do sleep
I'm going to do,
second? No,
sleep, yes. We love to sleep. And then I'm going to say sunshine. When I don't get sunshine, I'm sad.
We're huge proponents of sunshine. We are not anti-sunshine. We are not stay inside. We love mineral SPF on our face, neck, and chest, but we love leaving the rest of our bodies bare so we can actually get vitamin D and actually absorb it properly. So we love sunshine.
Yeah, sometimes we'll like encourage our team to take meetings walking, and
Yeah.
it's just, it's a good reminder, because sometimes we just get so busy. Like, we are so fast growing and so busy all the time that we can forget to get sunshine. And it's like, I don't know about you, but I can go like 3 days without getting it.
Really?
And I'll be like, why do I feel so gloomy?
Yes.
And then the
I'm
minute I
taking
get
my
sunshine,
vitamin D.
Yeah,
Like, that's not how that works.
exactly.
yeah.
I would almost put fancy goops last because it's not about how expensive or fancy something is. It's really about the filler agents to make sure there's no pore clogging ingredients, and then correct actives that are actually creating change for your skin and also healing your skin, like restoring your skin barrier and nourishing it. So it's less about being fancy and more about what are the key ingredients and what is it formulated without, like making sure there's no pore cloggers in there.
I would have to agree with that. It does not need to be fancy. In fact, some of the most expensive skincare out there, like La Mer, can break some people out. La Mer is great if you're just anti-aging and not acne prone, but it has algae and seaweed derivatives. That's why it's La Mer, the ocean, right? Algae and seaweed are some of the top, call it clean, higher quality ingredients that can still break you out. So, it doesn't need to be fancy. I mean, you can go to Trader Joe's and find a moisturizer that's better for acne-prone skin than going to Nordstrom and spending $300 on La Mer.
It is wild that like you have to pay more to get less with a lot of products. Like I have the deodorant aisle for men. It's twice as much money to not get the aluminums and all the crazy stuff that they put in. Like, just give me
Just give me the basics.
Just give me a deodorant. It's okay. There's so much to process here. Thank you for coming on and sharing this guide with us. The last thing I want to touch on is something I've noticed with Skin Talk. I'm not really on TikTok, I'm not going to lie, but the trend I've noticed is 13-year-old girls now look like 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Which, granted, they look fantastic, but it scares me for many reasons. But I also hear from my girlfriends about how younger people are using all kinds of anti-aging treatments when they don't need them. And it sounds like they're going to be training their skin to become dependent on all of these things that their body naturally produces until their 20s, the collagens and all these other things. What has been your experience with younger people specifically using anti-aging stuff? What should they avoid? And we'll talk about things like retinol, like getting out in the sun with retinol on your face. What are some kind of big takeaways that someone can glean from this conversation when it comes to using anti-aging skincare at a young age?
I'll start. So anti-aging means a lot of different things. It can mean things like peptides, growth factors, plant stem cells. So something that helps your skin age well is also generally going to have the benefit of being anti-inflammatory, and that's good for everybody. So we're fans of that as long as it's actually helping your skin's natural healing process instead of trying to override it and hijack it the way that the strong retinols do. We're not a fan of Retin-A. The white cream version that everyone gets put on actually has a pore clogging filler agent called isopropyl myristate. This is not my opinion. This is an actual fact. People always go nuts over this, and it's like you can just do basic research and look that up for yourself. But anyway, the prescription strength retinols hijack your skin's cell turnover, and for some people who are desperate for exfoliation, they might see some benefit from it. For a lot of people, though, it's a constant state of irritation, constant peeling, accelerated sun damage, sensitivity to everything else. They'll go and get a different treatment, and the treatment will backfire on them because their skin has been oversensitized from Retin-A. If you are like a surfer or playing sports outside, contraindicated for sure. You'll age yourself faster.
Sure do.
And then it just doesn't.
I got my dorky little bucket hat every time I paddle out.
Bucket hats are in.
I read the UV chart every day.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Like in the summer, they're like volleyball at noon. See you at 3.
That's amazing.
That's why you look so good.
We're trying.
So depending on the anti-aging ingredient, I think it's really coming down to knowing your ingredients. Things like peptides and plant stem cells, fantastic. You might not need them when you're a teenager. You probably don't. But if you had acne and you have textural scarring, they can actually rebuild the scarring too. So that's why we use all those growth factors and peptides in our products. Even though we're technically an acne line, we want to rebuild the skin. But things that are too strong and override your skin's natural mechanisms, I believe those will backfire on you in the long run. And that's why we're not fans of Retin-A.
Yeah, what we do not like is so many people in their 20s doing Botox, doing fillers when their face isn't even done forming yet, when our prefrontal cortex isn't even done until we're 25, 26 years old.
Men, it's 28. We still got
28.
that monkey brain for a couple more years.
Of course. But there's so many injectables that people are getting, neurotoxins injected, and really harsh lasers because people think they're aging in their 20s and really they're not. Like they're quite fine. And they're getting these really, really harsh lasers and, like Danielle said, Retin-A's that are just destroying their skin barrier. And it's actually causing accelerated aging. There are certain lasers that we do like. We do not like them all. Some of them are too much damage and too much heat to the skin. But there are some really positive ones that is fine for people in their 30s and they're like plus, and when they're going to a person that's going to do the correct lasers at the correct time, gives them the right education. A lot of people get lasers and just go out in the sun and destroy their skin. So there's a lot of lack of education, and I think very
anytime your
money-grabbing.
skin is healing, you want to stay out of
Exactly.
the sun, right?
And very money grabbing. Like doctors should tell women no. Like if they're coming at 18 getting Botox, I firmly believe a doctor should turn them away. You can get neurotoxins injected, but you can't drink legally yet. That makes no sense to me. And so I think there's a responsibility aspect from doctors that is not being upheld to the way it should.
Well, I think one of the big problems is social media giving people FOMO. They feel like they're not good enough. They're not pretty enough. You're 13.
Filters that
you
make
should
it look like you have fillers in.
Yeah, just use those. But
exactly.
But like if you're 13, you should look like a 13-year-old. And like I was absolutely a late bloomer. I was shooting back to school for Kohl's and other catalogs until I was like 26, 27.
Love that.
Is there any advice you can offer to people who feel like maybe they're not good enough, they're struggling with acne or something with their skin? Is there anything you can offer just kind of in the self-acceptance field here?
Yes, to approach everything with curiosity. If you are struggling with any sort of a health journey, especially acne, where it's just something you're forced to deal with multiple times a day, every time you catch your reflection, you have to replace the fear with curiosity. Replace the shame with curiosity is actually what I mean. So be curious about what you eat, how that impacts your skin. When you sleep better and have less stress in your life, how does that impact your skin? When you use makeup that's free of pore cloggers, are you noticing that your skin is better? Really just making everything a game, and be curious about what data you're going to learn. Like, what am I going to learn today about my skin? That's the only way to stay sane and positive through it. Otherwise, it's just a constant shame spiral, and it can really distort and rewire your psychology. I went through that for over 10 years, and I'm definitely a different person because of how bad my acne was. When I see kids today, especially social media, making everything so much harder and so much more unrealistic, stay curious and get off of the accounts that don't make you feel good. If something doesn't make you feel good, pause it, get off of it. Like, we have to control our diet, and that means our media diet too. Like, at some point we are adults, and we need to be like very responsible for our own mental health and how that's contributing to whatever health issue we're going through.
My partner gets really mad at me when I try to explain, like, maybe this is an issue of reframing. He's like, you're telling me not to be sad? That's not what I said. Well, thank you. This was really, really helpful. I appreciate all of these insights, and I think that this is going to help a lot of people out there. As always, we like to end every episode on a low note, a fight. My guests have selected a topic, a controversial topic. They have selected the stance they're going to take on the topic and whether or not they'd like to go first. What have you chosen?
We've chosen that we do not like Retin-A. Absolutely don't like it. We hate it. We hate Retin-A.
Okay, so this is a 2-on-1?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we feel about Retin-A? Fight me.
I feel that it is a very unnecessary Band-Aid approach to solving skin issues that has a lot more unintended consequences than people are educated on. And I feel that it is overprescribed, prescribed to people that are also not given proper tools for how to use it and how to protect themselves, so they can be put in a spot of danger. Like, it doesn't play nice with other things. So they can actually be using Retin-A and then go do like a benzoyl peroxide and get a chemical burn and be left with scars. Especially if you have darker skin, you can get scarred from using Retin-A improperly. But because of the lack of guidance, I see this happen all the time. So I feel like there's a lot of unintended consequences, side effects that can be like somewhat permanent, like perioral dermatitis. A lot of women get perioral dermatitis that is relentless, and it's from Retin-A. And then also I just hate the fact that the white one has a pore clogging filler agent. It causes a lot of purge and new acne for so many people, and sometimes it doesn't stop. So I am mad at the formulators who made that because they could have easily used something else that doesn't clog pores.
Okay. That was very well said, and I appreciate your opinion. But look, I thought this was America. I thought I was allowed to do whatever I want. If someone wants to sell me Goop because they made me feel bad about myself, I'm going to buy that Goop. I'm going to put it on my face. And it's up to me whether or not I want to do the research. If it's like, if I want to do Retin-A and go in the sun and burn my skin, that is my prerogative because this is a free country. You actually went over on your time, so I only have 30 seconds. Fight me.
For the evangelists on social media that come after us when we talk against Retin-A, they're like, it saved my life. They will gaslight the shit out of anyone else who says that Retin-A destroyed their skin.
Yeah.
Like truly, I will read comments around comments of people saying that it ruined their skin and they'll say, you're making it up. Retin-A fixes everything. You're wrong. It wasn't the Retin-A that caused it. They stand behind it so insanely. This topic is wild. Like the way people stand behind it and gaslight other people.
Well, it's a powerful drug. And like any other powerful drug, you have to be wary of the interactions.
Absolutely.
Like Tylenol. It's a wonderful drug, but don't drink on it because it taxes your liver too much. So that's a great thing to keep in mind. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I guess we'll have to agree to kind of agree.
I like that.
I'm still mad at you.
Good. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Stuff Every Queer Kid Should Know. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson, Cass Falding, Chantilly Twazan, and Jake Wachtel. If you like this show, don't forget to share it with your friends, subscribe on your preferred channel, and give us a 5-star rating. Also, I would like to give a massive thank you to all of my Patreon subscribers. If you're in the credits tier, you will see your name listed in the show notes.